Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's been a while. I think this is like over a month that we haven't done a podcast, Sarah. What's going
I
on?
know this is so bad. We need to get back on the weekly cadence. I feel
I
like
know.
I've been
Well,
traveling. You've been so busy.
yes. Well, this is what happens with like all like professional groups is like you look at like group chats or whatever. There's always people that like drop off. So like things happen in their world or something like that. And like we have like, I don't know how many co-hosts on this. They mostly have dropped off. And I just haven't had time to get guests on and everything. But such is life. But let's continue to
I
keep
also feel
these
like
going.
it's never been like a crazier time and
Yes,
there's so much to
exactly.
talk about. So like we need to be doing this more.
What's the top of your mind right now? What are you thinking about most with your business right now?
I mean, what isn't top of mind? I feel like there's the economy and that the impact that's having. There's AI and like so many new developments since the last time we talked.
Yeah,
We just had a big launch, so that's been busy. Um, yeah, where do we start?
let's start with the launch. So things are different now when you do. You guys are obviously like a known name. I saw you were speaking at the Mercury conference, so you're
That's
a
coming
no.
up. That's coming
It's
up.
coming up. It's coming
Look
up.
for it.
So you have some notoriety, even more, I guess. You've always had had a lot. But what does it mean now to launch in 25?
Yeah, what year are we in? So Winnie expanded into K-12. So we're a childcare early education
Yes.
marketplace. We expanded kind of up the age spectrum so you can find schools on Winnie. We had like a lot of trouble getting like press coverage for the
Mm,
launch, which I think is not unique to us. This is like, I mean, there's so much like going on in the world these days. I think it's hard for any company to
yeah.
get coverage unless, I mean, even the AI companies now aren't getting coverage.
No.
There's just too much happening. Um, Too many like crazy things. Like
Yeah.
I saw we have like a 3,000% tariff now on solar. Anyway, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so and I talked about it on the podcast before, like, what's the strategy? Go direct. How do you do it? And so
Yeah.
we did that. We went direct. We posted about our own launch on our blog, on LinkedIn, on social media. We kind of went on some podcasts and kind of had the word spread with like more ed tech specific folks and with our investors. And I feel like
Right.
that actually worked pretty well. Like it's not, one single thing. Like
Yeah.
you get a write up in the New York Times, that's like one thing, you don't do anything else. So you have to do more work. But I feel like a lot of people heard about our launch and the right people, like not a
Right.
random person
Yeah.
on the
That's
street,
exactly
but
right.
our customers asked about it. I was just on a call with a prospective customer and they
Yeah.
said, like, we saw this. Can you tell us more? Like, it doesn't apply to us because we're childcare, not K-12, but like we're interested.
Yeah.
So I feel like it got to the right people and like I just wish I didn't spend any cycles going back and forth with the press because I actually did a bunch of work. Like we ran a survey. I tried to like package it up for press and I feel
Right.
like that was kind of like a waste.
You got no coverage at all from like the mainstream press.
No, and not even like, the kind of there's some like less mainstream, but like Ed Surge or, something like that. Like I actually did do some calls and
Oh wow.
kind of provided them with some data and like they were interested, but like still nothing written. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe they will
Yeah.
write something. I'm hopeful, but um, we just found that, people are just really like even Ed Surge was like, oh, sorry, like big news just dropped from like the Department of Education shutting down. Like we have to cover that now. Um, and so I think it's just hard to get anyone's attention these days.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And also, like on the flip side, I think that there's so much news coming at people that they try to follow people, like whether that's like on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
obviously, like they'll follow people, like if you're in childcare, they'll follow childcare people like yourself. And
Right.
so they're opting in to get that content too. So yeah, it really doesn't. it doesn't matter. We're not in like the 2010s anymore where like every new tech company is applicable to everybody.
Right.
And so it really should be a focused um, push. I've done both, and I could definitely say that, like at Shyp, we were applicable to everybody, and the press was good. I would say it was good for talent, but like nobody except for like the open AIs get that level of press anymore. And but it also it didn't really matter for our business ultimately. Ultimately, it was like, what need do you serve? Can you reach customers? Can you provide a good experience? Will they come back and use it and all that stuff? That's what really matters. But also launching new products as well. It's like you want to make people aware, even your existing customer
Yeah.
base, that you have this new product, because it's really hard to change people's minds about what you are, especially if it's a really big thing. It's like they think of you as just like for preschool, right?
Right.
And it's like now you're much more, and it's hard to get people to change their perception of you. So it's like, how do you do that? Obviously, I'm sure you did email blast all your customers and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think it's just, and I kind of feel like people that are good at this kind of like communication will be very valuable inside of a company, like using available channels, kind of how
yeah,
to message it to your own users, to other, industry folks, like what are the right places to try to spread your message? Like
right,
those are going to be the new kind of like PR teams, not like the folks who write up a press release and then pitch it to the New York Times, because that's
right,
just not going to work anymore.
right.
Um,
Agreed.
yeah, so that's that. I feel like we've also like completely changed how we work at Winnie, like in the
Yeah,
past month. Our We did like this AI hack day,
yeah,
literally one single day where everyone worked on whatever they wanted, like with some tie into AI. It could be a feature that was using AI. It could just be like, try to use AI to do a thing you've wanted to do, play around with a new AI tool. Like it was
yeah,
very open ended. And it was wild what people made in a single day. We had one engineer who built three different, like, very good features, like
yeah.
completely separate, three in one day. Uh, and I think it just kind of opened up everyone's mind as to what is possible. So we kind of threw away our whole Q2 roadmap.
Wow.
And now Q2 is just entirely pretty much an AI roadmap,
Right.
um, which is like we are like now saying we're an AI company. Yes, we're a childcare and education company, but we're an AI company. And
Well,
we're gonna
you
try it for
use
a
AI,
quarter and see what happens,
right,
but it has been really kind of mind blowing.
right. Yeah, I got kind of a hot take here, and you may disagree with it, but I think the people that are going to benefit the most from this are like the startups that are starting today, because like you're literally interviewing for people that have this skill set, and that could be an engineer that's able to use whatever tools, Cursor, Claude, whatever, and it's like baked into how they actually do things every day,
Yeah.
and you could screen people out. You don't have to teach them new tricks, because you're typically always going to lean back to what you kind of know, and also that goes for content or for marketing or sales or whatever. Like you're going to be interviewing people that like actually do have this skill set, versus like trying to teach people. And so I think of like even larger
Yeah,
companies,
but I think,
it's
like,
going to be even tougher to
there's
get to
not
change the way that they do things.
maybe I mean, we were just like, it's okay to try things, like, it doesn't have to work, and it was surprising, like, how quickly, when given permission, people just didn't lean back on old ways of doing things, and I think a lot of these tool sets are brand new, and they get better, like, every
Yeah.
week, and so there's not actually, like, that much historical knowledge you need, and if you did test something historically, like, it might not have worked then, and it might work now because the models are getting better. And so, at least the engineers, like, I feel like they pick things up really quickly and have just
They
dove right
definitely
in.
do, but I think there's a certain culture, right? Like think of like an engineer that's going to be using something for production, that it's used to like them coding out
Yeah.
all of the code themselves, them actually submitting a pull request that's going to be reviewed by a peer or senior engineer and then put into production. And if that was like completely written by like Cursor or Replit or something like that, that's going to be pretty hard. Like the code is not going to be the same quality, but the result is going to be you're going to be able to push things, get things done a lot faster. And it may not be as error proof potentially, but you're able to test things with customers earlier. I think there is like a cultural thing that it's just like, of course we're going to use an AI for doing X, Y, or Z or anything. I know I use AI for everything in my life, and I think that I definitely would consider myself on like kind of not the bleeding edge, but like the leading edge. Like there's a lot of people that still don't even use Chat GPT, which I think is insane. And those are the people that are going to really struggle, and those companies are going to really, really struggle. Like I think
Yeah.
Google and Amazon and everything, the way that their entire processes are run are not structured for this new world.
Yeah, I mean, we're like, there's using the tools, which I agree, like, there's kind of a learning curve, and also the more code you have, like, the harder it might be to
Yes.
incorporate them into your development process, but there's also just building AI first features, like,
Yeah.
we're building a feature that, like, will analyze photos that daycares and schools upload. It will immediately give them feedback in real time. If those are good photos, it will reject
Right.
photos that don't meet our guidelines. Um, that is like a feature that wouldn't have been, wasn't possible until the AIs got good enough. And now we can easily build this feature. And so just thinking about like the entire universe of like, what can you build now that you couldn't build before? Forgetting about how you like, do you use Replit? Do you use whatever? Like, I don't actually care how they do it. I just want to be taking advantage of the technology that exists that can drive my
Yeah.
business forward like 100x when before, like, we would have had to have like, we used to, or we still do, like, review every photo manually.
Right. That's painful. I'll give you an example of what I'm doing right now. So we're still a small team, and it does have a really big part to do with AI because we are developing everything like based on AI coding or doing everything with all these different tools. Our product, oh, well, it is AI because it's actually like robots, but uh, I'm leading the go-to-market motion. So it's going to be founder-led sales, mostly going to be outbound, and I'm basically creating the exact playbook. So I've created a tool that will be included in the very first call with prospects that I coded up in Replit in a couple of weeks. That would have taken probably 2 months with a team before. And so not only can I actually do it, and I'm a coder, but I'm not a great coder. I haven't coded in a long time, but I'm able to also make changes to this tool as I get customer feedback. I'm also gonna go and figure out what the best go-to-market motion is based on a ton of books, ton of learnings, ton of whatever. Like ingest all of these different types of tactics and also see the latest and greatest tools and basically just like follow the playbook of like reaching out for email or advertising or whatever,
Mhm.
and just like following that. And I think that I'm going to be able to, my goal for the end of the year is to close like $10 million worth of business just myself. And I think that the way that other companies are run, it's like you have the SDR function, you have all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so like when you're able to go from like scratch, I'm building the tools, I'm building like the actual like how we reach out to initial customers. I'm also going to be talking on Zoom to people, but just people who are highly qualified and everything like that. And I'm going to be very effective versus like I think even at this stage of my last company, I think we had a team of probably like 4 or 5 people that are kinda gonna be doing what I'm gonna be doing. And so it just gives me, and obviously I'm like a high agency person, but it allows me to also just like have really quick feedback cycles.
Yeah.
It's like I had a customer call, is it this tool didn't provide this? I'm like, I changed it in Replit, and then it's like all of a sudden I have a completely new thing that I'm able to go on the next call to close somebody else. And I think that just having you haven't had any more leverage than you do today with a single
Yeah.
person and all these tools that you can make, whether you are actually creating AI for other people to actually ingest, but all of the tools are just insane of what you can use today.
Yeah. So I mean, I think AI is a huge tailwind for companies right now. big headwind though are, I
Yeah.
mean, the economy. One of my favorite Twitter accounts, X accounts, shout out to, I'm probably going to say his name wrong. Sheil, how do you say his last name? Monat. He's at
Oh, yeah.
Desi. Um, he had, I mean, he has like a million great tweets. Every tweet is like,
Yeah.
so, I learned so much. But he shared at some point recently, like, which is something I'm seeing too. I talked to a bunch of like investment bankers at this conference, ASU GSV. He tweeted that like investment bankers are basically not, they're not taking deals to market right now. Like they're holding
Yeah.
their deals. And I think that's pretty consistent with what I'm hearing. Um, I think it's a very uncertain time in the market. Like the market goes up, it goes down. It's a roller
Yeah.
coaster. There's new tariffs. There's no tariffs. There's only tariffs on China. Like it is crazy. And I think deals, like it's definitely not the time to get like a great valuation for your company. Um,
No.
it's just, I mean, that's challenging because you may not want to raise money in this environment. You may not have liquidity in this environment. I think this will be a challenge for entrepreneurs right now.
Yeah, I think so, but it's always cyclical, right? And everything's up and down and all that. I think it's like it depends on your stage. Obviously, if you're later stage, the macro definitely will, like, impact you a lot more than earlier stage. Like, early stage, like, the stage that I'm at right now, like, I'm not even worried about that, and in tariffs even have a very major impact in our business because we're actually importing stuff from all around the world, but, like, ultimately, like, our customers are dealing with that, and we don't handle that, so, like, they're just gonna figure it out. So I think that it's and you get a lot of like on tech Twitter, there's a lot of people that just focus on the map or just generally in Twitter on just like the macro trends and
Mhm.
everything. And it's like, are we going to go into a recession? Are we not? But like, if you have like an amazing product, it doesn't matter. Like all these AI companies, like OpenAI AI is going to continue killing it. Like, they're gonna continue growing no matter if there's gonna be a recession or anything like that. They just have, like, the bet arguably for certain use cases, the best product there. So, like, just, like, focus on the things that you can really control, and I know that it's really hard to get wrapped up in a lot of the macro stuff, but, like, if you're a startup, like, just focus on, like, your customers.
Yeah, I do think though that like, I mean, the tariff situation could have a very real impact, even if you're like insulated. Like, I'm in the childcare industry. We
Yes.
don't deal with any physical goods, so like
Right.
we theoretically shouldn't be impacted by tariffs, but we will be because if you look at like, even just like parents buy products and 90% of baby products come from China. And so if those products suddenly get really, really expensive, parents will have less money to spend on childcare. And if those same products are bought by childcare providers to, you know, have those goods in their classroom or diapers or things like that, and like the those goods will get a lot more expensive. They'll have less money to pay their teachers. That will impact childcare businesses. So I feel like, you know, it's easy to think you might be like, "Oh, I don't ship anything from China. I'll be fine." But like I think tariffs could, I mean, you see what they're doing to the stock market. Like it could
Mhm.
have a really big impact on everything by kind of shifting the whole economy. So, I mean, it's definitely something I'm thinking about. And like I think the way founders should be thinking about it is, well, one, like obviously if you're in a business that's directly impacted, you have to
Yeah.
think that through. And anything you can do to, you know, reduce the impact. But I mean, I think for other folks like this may really be a year where you do need to hunker down. And so it's all about having
Yeah,
capital,
totally.
being profitable, not going out to market if the market continues to be this crazy and
Yeah.
this much of a roller coaster. Um, so it may not be like the year that you step on the gas for growth, if
Right.
that will cause you to run out of money
Totally.
sooner
Yeah. I would say in the seed market, it's unchanged.
in terms
It,
of capital.
yeah. Yeah. For companies that are like, relevant right now. Like if you're building a B2B SaaS company, not a good time. Um, but if you're building something in the AI space, or you're heavily utilizing AI in some unique way or something like that, that's when people, I would say the market's hotter than it has been in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some investors who were like, "I'm just, like, sitting this out because I don't even know how to evaluate AI companies at the seed stage." Like, just have no idea. Like, could this be something that's the next OpenAI, or could this be totally obsolete because some other company does it? Like, they
Yeah, I think those are bad investors, right? If you use the same logic, like what was Google was what, the 127th search engine, right? Like
Yeah,
you you can't just like this is like there's lots of people that say this is a bigger revolution than like mobile and potentially the internet. So like not to just step this one out, you're just a bad investor in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, this was an ed tech conference, so,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, that this
But even ed tech, like everything's gonna change.
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing that I definitely heard loud and clear. Like, there was a lot more interest in childcare because they felt like that was more understood than like, is this AI tutoring company going to be the next big thing, or is it going to be completely, worthless because there's a billion of these? Like everyone
Right.
has an AI tutor. And so I think there was suddenly more interest in like, it used to be like the platforms for, tutoring and learning and that sort of thing got a lot of attention. And now everyone's like, I don't think I can invest in an AI tutor because everything's an AI tutor. What does that
Right.
even mean? Uh,
Right.
so suddenly, like platforms like a childcare platform were more interesting because it's like, okay, here's a market that
Yeah.
is like less disrupted by AI. I mean, still being disrupted by AI, but like less so.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah, it's yeah, things are always going to change, but you gotta always stay up to date and all the stuff. It is obvious. Like I'm saying you shouldn't look at the macro, but of course I'm looking at the markets and like to be just genuinely aware of everything, just to like as you get older, it's just important in
How are
general.
you like thinking about your personal finances and personal runway? Like has that changed? I mean, for me, I it's a big concern. Um just given the markets and like you don't want to pull money out of the market when it's down
No,
like this.
I'm a really simple like S&P and just buy into it, and that's basically it. I don't
Are
really
you
do anything.
changing any of your like spending habits or how you think about
Oh, I am not. Are you?
yeah, because I feel like I don't want to I mean just like you don't want to burn cash in your business, like I don't want to burn too much of my savings in a time when the market like is dropping because you're pulling money out. So when the market goes back up, you have like less money in it to go back up.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I haven't like made any drastic changes yet, but
Right.
definitely like top of mind. Like I actually went through, I don't always like track all my spending very carefully, but
Yeah.
um we did go through all of our spending in 2025 so far to like see if we're kind of roughly on track for what we want to be spending. And like, I feel like I'm spending, it's taking up more of my like mental
Your
capacity
headspace.
than
Yeah.
normal when I'm like, okay, I don't want to worry about it. Like yesterday, my kids were off school and
Yeah.
I obviously had to work. Um, like normally I would put them in a camp for the day or hire a
Right.
babysitter. And I was just like, no, I don't want to like spend the money.
Do you think that do you think that's a real, like something that you should be doing, or that's just like kind of like an emotional response to what's happening in the market?
I mean, I think it is like we tell our audience, pick up parents, like it's short-sighted to
Yeah.
not spend on childcare because you're like investing in your career and yourself. But at the same time, like it is a trade-off. Like, okay, how much less work do I really get done when my kids are home and I have to like help fix them lunch versus like if I hired a babysitter, like shelled out all that money for a babysitter for the day,
Yeah.
like, they're still home and like loud and kind of distracting anyway. So it's like,
Yeah.
is it that much worse? And I think it's just a mental trade-off that you do think about, and you think about it more when, you know, especially as an entrepreneur, like I don't bring in that much income. And so I want to
Right.
not be dipping too much into my savings.
Right. Right.
And I got to imagine other people are feeling this. I mean, we see it in our data, at least, like just
Not wanting to spend on childcare.
people spending longer on that decision because it's a huge purchase. And
Yeah.
if you're laid off from your job or you're concerned you might be laid off, like, or you're just concerned
Yeah.
about the economy overall, you're kind of like more hesitant to make a big childcare purchase. So I have to imagine it just shows up for a lot of folks.
Yeah, I think if that's a real thing for you, it's not for me because I know how much money we have and it won't impact me. um, but I would be really scared, especially like in the Bay Area, if I was working for like a larger tech company. Like I know some of my friends have actually like proactively moved because they continue to hear rumors of like layoffs happening, and it is like directly due to AI and how much more people are able to accomplish due to all these tools they're using. I think it's actually, if I was like to recommend anything, I would say go to a startup. Like startups do have quite depending, like even early stage, like typically 2 to 3 years runway, I would say a lot of the time. And like, I would think that's even like a safer path. But those jobs are really hard to get because like even us, like we're not hiring anybody
Yeah.
right now.
I mean, we're
And
not planning on, we're a very small team and like we are very um thoughtful. Like if we bring someone on, we would do that knowing that they had a position for
yeah,
a long time. And we also, our positions are more flexible. Like if we need an engineer to move from one
right,
thing to something else, like we would expect they would be open to that
right,
as our needs change. Like we have everyone working on AI now. Like that's not what they were hired to do.
right.
Um, but I think uh so yes, I agree. Like if you can get hired by a smaller company where they're going to be less, maybe just like, oh, we're doing 40% cuts and you're gone. Um, but I think like personal finances are going to be a concern for more people that might affect
Yeah,
like founders, it might affect their teams. Like people are just going to be, I think, more careful as they see the cost of goods rise. As
yeah.
they get, concerned about the economy and the stock market, and like that may show up in, different ways. Uh,
Right. What
yeah.
one thing, okay, kind of similar topic. One thing I have noticed, so as my kids have gotten older, they're in lots of sports now. So my oldest is almost turning 8, and he's in like 4 or 5 sports. And I've just started to getting to know a lot of the other families, and especially the dads that typically. So I live in the East Bay, and a lot of them work for tech companies, and they work the majority from home. And it is remarkable how much time they do not work.
Oh,
So either golfing
oh,
or like they're going to whatever, the pool in the middle of the day,
oh,
not
wow.
doing shit. Like it's fucking
I thought you were going to
crazy.
say because they're driving kids around to sports, which I can definitely relate to.
That's also happening too. So it's like there's a 4 o'clock like practice on Thursday. It's like who's planning this shit? Like what's going
3:30,
on?
3:30 soccer practice for my girls.
Yeah, like what?
3:30.
How is that a thing? Like who's scheduling this
Yeah.
stuff?
Like they don't even finish school till 3:15. So it's like
Right.
not even possible to get them there on time. It is insane. Um, yeah. I like, I mean, I have 3 kids playing. I mean, my son is like just starting to play sports, but now that he's doing sports and my girls are doing all these sports, but soccer is year round, it's just
Yes.
a lot of driving.
Well, yeah, it is, but I did not realize how many people were actually abusing it. I always have been an in-person, like, fan, but, like, to actually see it real time happening to people I know and them actually talking about how little they actually work, it's crazy, and it makes me so not want to have, like, any remote employees at all. Because I can only also imagine, like, the youth generation, how much they're taking advantage of it as well. There seems like this sense of, from this next generation coming up, so, like, early 20s, like, more of an entitlement piece and, like, I wanna do the stuff I wanna do and all that, and that obviously super generalization, and I don't know if it's totally true, but, like, I would think that they're probably even, like, taking advantage of it even more and like going out for like 4-hour lunches or going in, and like
Yeah.
going to the park all day and
I
just like
actually
answering their Slack and just like having the most thing move so people think you're active on Slack.
I mean, I don't see that as much as, like, parents just being really stretched thin, and maybe it's, like, a different, the Peninsula parents versus the East Bay parents, but, like, it's just really hard to be a parent these days, like, it's there's a lot. It's a full-time job per
Yes.
kid, and, like, you have multiple kids, forget about it, plus you're trying to work, and I think it's just hard to do it all, and things have to give, and sometimes that's, like, on the work front, and other times you're not able to show up at, I mean, there'll be kids' events scheduled in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel for, I mean, I feel like it's less of, like, this generation is so lazy and more, like, especially as a parent, there's just so
Right.
much people are trying to juggle, and, like, it's impossible to make it all work. I am obviously a huge fan of remote work. I think it finally makes it, semi possible to figure out this puzzle, but you see people doing all kinds of creative things, and
Yeah.
I worked from the park for 2 hours yesterday because I did have to get my kids out of the house when they were home for the day,
Right.
and,
Right.
like, people were like, "How are you able to work at the park?" And I'm like, "I pay for high speed Wi-Fi so I can tether to my phone and I make it
Right.
work." And, like, it's just
I think
so
that's
good to do.
unusual. I think most people, especially working for large companies, would just go to the park and not work at all.
There was, another mom there. There were a lot of nannies there with the kids, but there was another mom there who also brought her laptop, so, and I think she works for a large company, so
Yeah, yeah, I see
there's
that.
some good employees out there.
But also just how like honest they are and like how they just try to abuse the system. I'm like, do you understand like the economy that we're in? Like we're getting laid off. It's going to be the people that are showing up all the time, utilizing all these different AI tools, like actually getting shit done, are the people who will not be laid off.
Yeah,
So like this is not the time to just sit back and try to like abuse kind of the system.
yeah. No, I personally don't look at it as abuse, as, I mean, maybe because I'm, like, in the thick of it myself, I see
You're a
it.
founder though. You do things like you'll work late at night and you'll work at the park and all that, but like a lot of other
Yeah,
people don't. That's not their company. They don't care
yeah.
there's
I
nobody
mean,
that cares more about your company than
I
yours.
would hope my
Than
employees
you.
are conscientious, and, like, I don't expect them to have their laptop with them all the time, but, I think they are, like, honestly trying to make it work, like, if they are, needing to take off to be at something for their kids, they're kind of
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to make that up at other times, so
Yeah.
I mean, I have had people that abused it. Those people are typically not with the company anymore for various reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, but I do think, like, the people we have are genuinely trying their best. Yes, they're not founders. They don't need to, like, live and breathe this every day, but I think they are really
Right.
trying to figure out how to, like, make it all work.
I think some people are, the majority aren't. Anyways, we'll move on. we have not talked about this because we haven't had an episode since this, but there's now this is like the biggest B2B lawsuit that's
Oh yeah,
happening.
yeah, the deal.
Deal,
Uh, Rip.
and rippling.
Yeah.
So do you want to give the headlines on that? Do you know
I
much
can't
about
even
it?
follow. So basically, Rippling had an
So they're
employee.
both HR platforms,
Yes.
basically offering very similar products serving global
Yeah,
markets.
and we use Gusto. I don't know how they stayed out of this fight, but they're awesome. They were not part of this beef. Anyway, the Rippling employee was secretly a deal spy. Um,
Yes.
and they did this whole honeypot and basically caught that this Rippling employee was a spy for Deal. And then I think he was based in Ireland or
Can't remember.
somewhere
Yeah, it was
not
somewhere.
in the US, but they tried to catch him in person and he like flushed his phone down the toilet uh and ran away. Now the Deal CEO is like unable to be found,
No, I think he's in like Dubai or something like that.
hiding in another country. He's
Well, because
somewhere.
because it there's a connection to the actual CEO basically giving these orders
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
this.
So they like Deal kind of got caught red-handed.
Right.
It looks like. I mean, this is all allegations from the lawsuit from Rippling, but it looks pretty bad if you're Deal that like these orders came kind of directly from the CEO and the executive team to spy on Rippling.
Right.
Um, and
Well, like let's be clear, like spine included like getting a database of their customers, their current pipeline,
yeah,
people that were considering deal versus rippling, like what their onboarding looked like every like all the a lot of intellectual IP was
yeah,
shared. Like it's like really going and like taking everything for a company. I don't know if anybody remembers the what was it, the Uber and Google lawsuit that there was the Waymo person who got hired on an Uber and brought a bunch of information over there. And I think they lost that case. But essentially, it's like corporate espionage,
yeah.
which is illegal, and you can serve jail time for this as well. It's like 5 to 10 years if you're found guilty. And if they could trace it back to the CEO, like the CEO potentially is facing jail time.
Yeah. I mean, don't do this. Like, it's really
No,
not the way to compete. This is not the way to do business. Do not do what Deal did or what they are alleged to have done. Um, and kudos to Rippling for uh finding it, for being on alert and being aware. I mean, I feel like this stuff is probably done to a much lesser extent by a lot of competitors. Like you interview a former
yes.
employee and you get information and things like that. But this was obviously very blatant, and Rippling could have just fired this person and been done with it. But they're choosing to kind of bring a lawsuit and make this very public, which I think is good. If this really happened how they say it's happened, I think you do want to set a precedent that you can't do this and you should get in trouble for it.
Well, also just from like a pure like competition standpoint, like if like they're selling to other startups that are going to hear this
Yeah.
news, like if I'm looking at them both and I know that one is doing corporate espionage, do I really want to trust them with all my HR stuff? Like, I don't know. It may be a reason they choose Rippling over Deal in some of these cases,
Yeah. I mean,
or
just use
investors as well.
Gusto. Like, why would you use either of these? Gusto's.
Well, Gusto doesn't offer any benefits.
Yeah, it does. We do all our benefits through Gusto. It's
Oh,
great.
do they know? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. No, they've
Oh,
done that for at least 9 years that we've been around.
I thought they were,
Um,
they didn't.
they
So
do
are they
everything.
employed? Are you employed by Gusto or are you
No,
employed by Winnie
by Winnie. They're not like a
PEO? So
PO.
that's the difference. Yeah. So I think both Deal and Rippling are PEOs. So you're actually employed by them. So you get the benefit of all of their uh, big workforce, all of
Mhm.
their people and their benefits. So we actually use TriNet, similar service, and we get really good benefits out of it.
I mean, I feel like our benefits are good, and they give you, like, different choices you could shop around. Um, but yeah, I haven't looked at either of those. We've been so happy with Gusto.
Yeah. No, if you're happy, that's good. But question to you, like where is the line too far? Like, are
All of it.
you what's that? No, like, would you be comfortable, like, having your employees go and take, like, a sales call and pretend that they're, like, a potential customer with a competitor? Like,
Yeah,
there's
so we've had competitors. We don't do that, like, we just don't.
do you
It's
think legally you could?
um, I think you can. I mean, we've had a number of competitors pose as customers, um, in our flow, taking sales calls, I mean, all kinds of stuff. Um, I think it's not great. Like, it wastes resources. I don't think it's the
Right,
way to compete. Um, I don't I don't like it. I mean, I guess, like, some of it one of the things we do kind of as a service for our customers is,
yeah,
with their permission to do this, is we like our secret shoppers at their childcare. So we'll submit an inquiry, we'll go through their flow,
hmm,
and then we provide them feedback. Like, did you know we submitted an inquiry and we didn't hear back for like 2 weeks? Like, that's why your leads aren't converting.
right,
Um, so we'll give them that kind of feedback. That's with their approval to go through their flow. Um, and they find it really valuable. So I think, yes, there's benefits to doing that and, like, seeing the flow. But I think if someone has, like, a self-serve kind of
yeah,
funnel where you can get information from their website, like, sure, you can check that out. But I think when you're at the point of, like, pretending to be someone you're not, it's a little disingenuous, and I would just be really careful. Not something we do because I don't feel like it's a good thing to do.
yeah. That's actually I was curious because obviously, like, well, we're all competitive people, but I'm a very competitive person, so I want to know exactly like what my competitors are charging and all that. But also, I do not want to break the law. I don't want to go to jail. And so I was looking it up, and the line is, um, if you are improperly impersonating yourself,
Right.
that is like legal grounds that you're some I don't know if it's fraud or whatever, but that's like basically like what so like you could try out a service like so for me like we help brands like I go buy a brand and like go and like
You can try
like
out a
try
service, but you can't impersonate someone. That makes sense. I mean, we
yeah
we also just ask our customers and our prospects,
yeah
like, they tell us who else they're using, and a
right
lot of times it's not necessarily mutually exclusive. Like, they could use Winnie and they can also advertise on Google. And so, like, we'll ask them, to give us that intelligence. And they'll happily provide it because
right
they want to get the best deal. Um, so I feel like that's a better way to go about it, is, like, just ask your customers that are using those things.
right right. Yeah, it's wild to see this lawsuit come out, and Deal was, like, one of the hottest companies. I think they were even valued more than Rippling
Oh,
at
wow.
one point. I know lots of investors in Deal, and Rippling, and, I don't I want I'm be very curious on what Deal's investors think of this, especially if it came down from the CEO.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
one thing I will say, so this looks right now looks really bad for Deal.
yeah,
However, it is a little bit weird to me that Rippling has continued to make such a big deal, excuse the pun, out of this. Like, they are
yeah,
continuing to post about this, and, like, um, the amount of, like, press and publicity they're trying to
it's a
get for
ton.
this, it's a little bit weird. So that's just, like, the one kind of red flag, like, what's going on here? Like, just if this is the legal thing, go fight it, but, like, why
I think it's the reason like we're talking about it right now, right? And like maybe
Right.
you'll like think about your benefits. You're like, oh, maybe I should look at. We've been using Gusto for 9 years. Maybe I should look at what Rippling's
Right, but
offering.
it just makes me think, like, is part of this, like, kind of maybe even fabricated or, uh, are they claiming more than what's happening to make a PR thing? Because at this point,
Yeah.
it feels like a lot of talking about it.
Well, the CEO, we both heard that the CEO is not in like in the U.S. So
Right,
there's something there.
right, yeah. I agree. Right now, I wouldn't I would give a lot of pause if I were considering becoming a deal customer based on these allegations, but, uh, it also just is a little odd to me, like, the amount of PR that Rippling
Yeah.
is doing about this. Like, if it were my business, I'd be like, "Look, we filed this lawsuit, we're not happy about it. They did
Right.
something really bad, and now we're gonna move on and talk about Rippling, and we're gonna focus on the business."
Right.
That's how I would handle it because I would wanna win on
Everything else.
the business and, like, being just a good stand-up business, and this is, like, a moment for them to show that, like, "You know what? That terrible thing happened. Like, we're dealing with it, but we're now, like, 100% focused on the
Yeah.
business and doing what's best for our customers." I don't know. Just the, like, continued focus on this as their, like, PR strategy is a little bit odd to me. But
But also, it's so hard to have a PR strategy at all right now.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah. I mean,
this is what gets you coverage.
this is what gets you coverage. I get it. But that's just the one thing I would say to
Yeah.
give this fair coverage of seeing both sides. I think it's a little weird. The whole thing is weird.
Yeah. Curious for you, and well, and also and me, both of our companies in like the AI. Well, mine's a little bit in the hype cycle. I'm not a software AI company. I'm a hardware AI company. Um, how do you feel things are going right now? Like, there's cyclicality to everything. Childcare is eventually going to become a hot market, and you're going to be there. Are you feeling that? Have things changed in your industry?
I mean, it definitely became more of the, like, belle of the ball at the ed tech conference in terms of, like, all the your competition is the other ed tech segments, like higher
Right.
ed and adult learning and whatever. Childcare became more interesting. Definitely not in a hype cycle. I actually spoke on a panel at that conference about
Yeah.
AI and early education and, like, how AI is being used in early education, and people were really into that because I think it's not obvious.
No, it's not.
Do you have AI robots taking care of babies? Like, no, that doesn't seem right. So, like, how are you
Right.
leveraging it? What are you doing? I think people were interested in hearing about that. Uh, but and there's a little bit of like this, um, like hype cycle around taking industries that are like so like basic, like
Yeah. Yeah. Adding.
small businesses.
Yeah.
You buy
I
an
know.
HVAC company and then you add AI to it.
And you roll it all up into one entity, and yeah.
And so, like, people were, like, kind of excited about, like, how we were using AI in childcare, kind of under that, like, general theme of, like,
Right.
it's not an AI business, but we're using AI kinda thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I hope, well, the best thing to happen to you is that you're not building in the hype cycle, but then you're in the best position when your kind of industry enters that. So hopefully people start caring a lot more about childcare. Maybe everybody will be forced back to work, and they won't be able I know people that still have a full-time job and they're still having their kids at home. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I was just in Philadelphia, and I was talking to, like, a neighbor of my parents, and it's like, they're trying to make it work when the kids get off school. They continue working, but the kids are home, and people are doing all sorts of things,
Yeah.
in this economy and with remote work. So
Right.
I get it, but yes, we need to invest in paid childcare.
Yes. Yes. Your time will come, Sarah. Stay the course. Okay. You want to wrap it up there?
Let's wrap. We'll
All
be
right.
back next
Thanks.
week.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, that's right. All right. See everybody.
Bye.
Bye.